on their own website. This is the World Economic Forum's website now, so let's just scroll this. The surprising stickiness of the 15-minute city. And it breaks this down, how this is going to be so sticky. You're going to absolutely love the surprising stickiness of the 15-minute city. See all these happy people with their bikes? So, and it describes that urbanism trends come and go, but the 15-minute city framing of walkable, mixed-use urban development is a lot more than just a fad. The historical roots go back with a long time. We'll be living with for a long time to come. This sort of 15-minute. As climate change and global conflicts shocks causes stress and faster intervals and increasing severity, the 15-minute city will become even more critical. So, of course, that's what they're pinning this on. It's climate change.
Yes.
It's all about climate change.
I didn't see any happy pictures of boomers or Gen X's in that picture. It was all millennials.
Yeah, it's all young kids.
Oh, you don't get to live there.
Yeah, you're not. You're kicked
You're
out.
put out
I'm
to
in like the
pasture.
40-minute city down the street.
You have to go live on a farm upstate. That's where you get to go.
They're putting you in a senior home
With my goldfish.
Yeah.
They're putting you in a Governor Cuomo senior home.
There's an episode of Sex in the City where Miranda doesn't want to date this guy because he's never left Manhattan in over a decade. Because she's like, he never gets out of here? No, that's unnormal. Like, it's undesirable in a mate. Someone who won't leave the city.
Won't leave
It's
the
like-
city. Yeah.
It's seriously like you're turning every city into the Truman Show. I mean, that's like you try to go beyond. They're going to like put up walls in each city now. And
Yeah, that's exactly
Well,
what it
I think
is.
that's what the fear is that they're like, you have everything you need right here. You can't leave here without some kind of carbon emissions permit. And that they construct walls around it because they've told us that this is the way to save the planet. And your responsibility is to stay within your Pavlovian circle. And so I think, the concern here is about civil liberties, not about whether or not we want to. Because, again, capitalism should take care, or just... I know people don't like that word, or, normal market forces should take care of that. If people are concentrated in one area, then anybody who wants to make some money should go there and open a shoe store. That's sort of how this has worked before, and it's worked out just fine in the past. I get it. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I feel like they tipped their hand though when you were looking at that Oxfordshire thing, because they had the like you can't drive on certain cities without the 100-day permit. I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say that permit is probably not free. And so like they could probably give you little passes for your little 15-minute like coordinates, or and then like you need like a pass to purchase things outside of that, and of course that pass is probably not going to be free. So it's just it's sort of like not just limiting everybody's movement, because they would never do that. You're not going to get a billionaire living in downtown Manhattan. Exactly. You're not going to get a billionaire living downtown Manhattan that's going to be happy with just like sitting in their 15
taking the West Side Highway, like not going through town. Yeah.
Yeah, unless you have a helicopter, this doesn't affect you, right? So you got to have a helicopter, some kind of flying vehicle. Sheldon, Sheridan Forbes in our chat says, redacted, you can hear Toronto City Council talk about it in 2019. It's public record. So Toronto City Council considering this as well. I didn't know that about Toronto. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say, did you ever see the movie Out of Time, I think it's called, with Justin Timberlake, where they had the time on their arms? No. And like the rich people who had all the time could travel freely through all the cities. There was like no stopping them, but like the people that didn't have much time were stuck to these areas where they had to go get their drugs. They had to get, like, they were all approved places they could go. It just kind of, it's like very Orwellian, but
yeah.
There's a lot of science fiction-y stuff that sounded like science fiction 3-4 years ago, right? They're like, what, can you believe that? And then in the past 3-4 years, we've seen like most of it come to pass.
Yeah.
Now we just call it Tuesday.
Right. From artificial intelligence to ex machina to you name it. Like, it's all
I never
happening.
thought I would in my life go out for a run and have a policeman tell me, go back home. And that's happened
because of the pandemic.
to me because of the pandemic on Easter weekend.
Yeah.
You can't be running outside here. Get back to your house.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Catch me. So on the surface, they pitch this idea as a utopia, right? You can eat outside with your friends on the street, have food outside. No cars will be coming by on these little cafes like in New York City. They were shutting down Times Square. Now you can just walk it, right? And you can walk to your local grocery store. Kids can go to school on foot, right? No need to deal with 2-hour commutes. It all sounds great. And they want you to think of it that way, but it's actually part of a larger Great Reset being rolled out by Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. Yeah, you will rent the place that you live in so that you won't own anything. You'll be restricted by the movements of your government. The government will tell you in approving you, whether it's through a vaccine passport or some sort of other digital pass, they'll control your movements, and we're going to provide government subsidies. And if you don't, we are going to take your government subsidies away. You will not receive these government subsidies. You're already seeing this in action in Brazil, the threats of getting the vaccine, or you will not receive government subsidies under Lula da Silva announced 2 weeks ago. So let's say and this is one of the pieces I want to point out because these are some of the distractions and some of the protests here. Let's say you live in zone 1, right? And you are restricted to zone 1 on certain days. Like you can't go to zone 2 or zone 3. It's like the Hunger Games. And if you do, you'll be fined as a result. Or it'll come out of your allotment that you're allowed to travel freely.
No, you get clubbed by the peacekeepers.
Right.
That's what happens in the Hunger Games.
The reaping. You'll be a part of the reaping. So, you can't go to zone 5 today, but what if grandma lives in zone 5 and she's fallen and she needs a special help from you over the next few weeks?
Well, don't worry. We've already established that grandma's put out to pasture.
Yeah, I guess we're sending
only
her in.
productive working people inside the 15-minute cities, because it's I'm going to bring up another science fiction movie. It's like Gattaca. Like you're no longer a productive worker. You're out of here, right? We only want...
Or worse, like Auschwitz,
yes, someone in the chat talked about how this is like the Jewish ghettos. Like, you all go in here for... This is what... Yeah.
Like you're frail. Oh, you've got children. You're going to the left because we know where that leads. To the right, you've got a few working weeks left in you. We'll send you to the right. As Dr. Jordan Peterson points out... As Dr. Jordan Peterson points out on Twitter... Here he says, the idea that neighborhoods should be walkable is lovely. The idea that idiot tyrannical bureaucrats can decide by fiat where you're allowed to drive is perhaps the worst imaginable perversion of that idea. And make no mistake, it's part of a well-documented plan. Yes, a well-documented plan from the World Economic Forum. It's all laid out by them. So that's why they were encouraged by these protests in England. Keep it up. If you've got protests in your neck of the woods, let us know about it here, and we will share it here either in the newsletter on Redacted or right here on the show.